What up, everyone? This is Brenton.
And Jenna.
This podcast is all about connecting with our Autumn family in a fun and different kind of way.
So turn down that CB, buckle up, and enjoy the show. It's going to be truckin' awesome.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Autumn Transport Podcast. My name is Brenton. I'm here with Jenna today. Jenna, what's going on?
Not much. How about you?
Trying to stay cool. It's 95-degree high today in Minnesota.
It is, yeah. I'm supposed to be outside later tonight at an event, and I'm not really looking forward to it. I mean, I am. It'll be fun, but yeah, it's going to be a hot one.
Yeah, we don't get too many days this hot up here, but Minnesota hot is different than hot around the country, too. It's like sweaty and sticky, humid, just gross.
Yeah, I try not to complain because I really hate the winters, but I live here, so that's a dumb sentence to say, living in Minnesota. But you know what I mean.
You gotta take the good days when you get them.
Yep, exactly.
Well, we're just doing a quick podcast here today. We have Jason Miles at the office. He is one of the drivers in our end dump division, and he stopped in because he's helping us out to do some training videos on how to use the equipment. One of the things we've been trying to do here at Autumn is to provide better resources for our drivers, especially new drivers that come on board that may or may not have experience in a certain division or working with a certain trailer. So we're working on getting some training videos produced for all of our divisions, and they'll be available on YouTube down the road. But Jason took some time to stop in here today. Thank you for doing that, Jason.
No problem.
So why don't we get started just finding out a little bit about you, who you are, where you're from, how long you've been with Autumn, that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm from Sparta, Wisconsin. I've been with Autumn for 3.5 years now. I've been running the same dedicated run since I started. I've been driving for maybe 26 years this year. So I've been around the block.
You're a pretty young looking guy. Did you start driving when you were about 17 or what?
20.
20?
Yep.
Okay. Family thing? How did you get into trucking?
My whole family's truck drivers. In fact, my dad drives for Autumn in the end dump division, same as me. This is his third time back to Autumn.
Okay.
He's went out to the oil field twice and returned to Autumn after each stint in the oil field. So my grandfather, my great-grandfather, everybody was truck drivers. My uncles, I've got cousins that are truck drivers, so it's a family business.
Yeah, Jenna, how much do we see that when you're working with recruits that they have trucking in the blood?
Oh, man, a lot. I mean, probably 85 to 90% of the time.
Right?
Yeah, I mean.
Well, my dad was a truck driver, Jason, but I am not. I just work with the liquid tank division, telling them where to go and when to be there and, what to pick up and what to drop off. But trucking is in the Baldwin family blood in some sense, not as deeply as you. Who came to Autumn first, you or your dad?
Dad started here first, and that was probably 11 or 12 years ago. And when he came to Autumn, he actually hauled sand to the oil field for Autumn in pneumatics back when they did that, before they went to sandboxes out there. And the freight rates dropped beyond what Autumn wanted to keep a truck out there for. So I think we had 4. Autumn had 4 trucks out there.
Yeah, that was a little bit before me, just before me. I've been here about 10 years, and I've heard the stories of when the fracking in the oil fields was crazy for a while.
Yep. And then I went out on the second boom to the oil fields before I came to Autumn. So I came to Autumn after I left the oil field.
What was it like out there? I've heard stories it was kind of wild, wild west a little bit.
I think in the early days, like when Dad first went out, it was because the towns weren't built up yet. There wasn't the apartment buildings that people all had campers pulled out there and living in tents, and there was a lot of shady stuff in the area. But like where I was in Williston, they came through and they cleaned the town up. They took the man camps out. They built tons and tons of apartment buildings, and they were nice. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, there were shady ones of those too, but all the newer ones were pretty fancy.
Because guys were basically just running nonstop as much as you could, right?
Yeah. The drivers, yes, you worked and worked and worked, and
Yeah.
you had paper to run on, a timesheet, not a log sheet, because you stayed in your radius, so you didn't have to run a log. So you worked.
Making hay while the sun was shining out there.
Yeah, and it was good hay too.
Yeah. How about family? So you said you're from Sparta, Wisconsin. I saw you have a beautiful truck out there, Kenworth. What's the model number on that?
W900.
W900. Green. Just looks fantastic with that dark colored black end dump, charcoaly end dump. Beautiful. We'll have some pictures online and maybe even a featured picture on the new website that's coming up here soon.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. I saw the name Gina on the side of the truck.
That's my wife.
That's your wife?
Yep.
Okay. How long you been married?
It was 17 years last Friday.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Congrats, yeah.
So, and then we have 2 boys together, 13 and 10.
Okay.
And then I have 2 previous, 26 and 25.
Wow. Okay. Nice. So are you and Gina's children, are they into athletics? What do they spend their time doing? I know the teen years are busy. I went through those.
Well, one wants to be in every sport possible, and the other one would rather use his imagination. Let's put it that way. So,
Okay. Well, very good. Yeah.
fishing.
Fishing.
Oh my God. You don't even get the word fishing out of your mouth before stuff's loaded onto the pontoon. So
I'm actually heading out Friday afternoon after work up to the Brule River.
Oh.
I'm going to do some fishing with a neighbor friend of mine and our 2 16-year-old sons. I go hunting with this guy, and we never get anything when we go hunting together. And so my expectation for catching any fish isn't super high, but he's had some success up there. So we'll spend a couple nights in a tent and do some fishing during the daytime.
I think next weekend, I'm pretty sure it's next weekend, we're going to do a charter out of Kewanee, go out and catch some big fish.
Fun.
And it's the Green Bay Packers family night next weekend, so we got to take the boys to that.
Oh, really? Fun.
Yep.
Yeah, I did see that.
Oh, yeah, really fun.
He's not a Packer fan. I am, so you can just talk to me.
Is he bleeding purple?
No, I
No
am
purple, thankfully, but
not. No,
not green and gold.
No, Jason, I'm born and raised in Minnesota, and I cheer for all Boston sports.
Well, to be honest with you, I have been now you can't even say it, but I'm going to say it because this is who I was forever, a Washington Redskins fan.
Okay.
My whole life.
Ooh.
So
I'm offended, by the way. No, I'm just kidding.
I've been loving, I do like Kirk Cousins, former Redskin.
Yep.
And I've grown to really like him as a Vikings quarterback. I know some Sunday afternoons my dad doesn't agree. We have some conversations about that. But have you seen the documentary on Netflix called Quarterback?
No, I have not.
It's super good. It follows Cousins and Patrick Mahomes and Marcus Mariota through their season last year and interviews them between games, talks about their preparation for games, their recovery, shows their families and stuff like that. And watching that's made me respect Cousins even more. Just a high quality guy.
Down to earth?
Very much. So.
He lives like he's not a quarterback. I've seen a few episodes. He's like, they show his house. He's just seems like he's humble and he's not out there. He drives a freaking van or
Nothing fancy.
something like, come on.
He's a family guy.
Yeah.
He's got a cute wife that just is like the perfect little wife.
Yep. Yeah, they're super normal.
Very, everything that makes Aaron Rodgers the butthead that he is not Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
They're complete opposites.
You mean, see what I got?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you got into trucking basically because it was a family thing.
It was what I wanted to do ever since I could ever remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd watch Dad back into the driveway. Back then, when I was little, Dad was out like 2 months at a time and then home for a weekend. So I'd watch him back into the driveway and just the looks of the truck, the looks of the trailer. And the trucks didn't look like they do now.
Yeah,
they
for
were,
sure.
Pretty much all cab overs back then. The conventionals were just starting to make their break. And I don't know, it's just been my passion. I work on my own truck.
Yeah, you were telling us outside some of the things that you've done to that truck. You want to talk about some of those things?
Just adding chrome, adding lights, and I do my own tires, mount, dismount, clean everything. So unless it's a road emergency, I'm the one busting them off and putting them on. And I try to cut corners whenever I can. I mean, save a little money. If I can do the work, I do the work. I even right down to, I got a good mechanic. I can take it in and he can run the computer on it and tell me what's wrong with it. And I call my parts guys and I get the parts sent to me and I change them. So EGR valve went out or was going out. I changed the EGR valve and just went back to him and he cleared the computer. And
So you got a piece of property at home then that you're able to, a shop that you can pull it in and work on it?
I actually park at a shop that I used to drive for the guy. We're super good friends, and I help him out when he needs help. And I have a parking space and a heated and air-conditioned shop, so
Nice.
to work in whenever I need to.
That's huge right now, is the parts and being able to do things yourself and keep rolling. I mean, we've just heard story on story of, issues
Waiting
with that,
forever.
and yeah, and can really hurt your business. So that's
But then you also have the battle at home too, because you're off, you're 2 days and you're spending a day and a
Sure.
half in the shop of it, but that day and a half saves you a lot of money sometimes.
sure, yeah.
That was my experience growing up. We had a little 5-acre hobby farm, and my dad had a shop that he had built there where he could pull the truck in, and he was always out there. Every weekend he was home, he was out there working on something. And we were joking with my siblings last weekend. We had a phone, so now everybody has their own phone. You have your own cell and it's in your pocket all the time or whatever. But Jenny, you probably don't remember this, but there were landline phones. So you just had one phone in your house that was plugged into the wall.
729-6109. That was we had a landline. Come on. I grew up with that.
But there was a phone in the shop. And so when people would call for my dad and we'd answer, we'd have to tell them, hey, can you call back? And we'll just let it ring until he picks it up in the shop. Because there was no way of getting a hold of him out there except for that.
Oh, yeah.
And there were times we'd be in the house and that phone would just ring and ring and ring. He must have been greasing under the truck or something.
Right.
And eventually he'd pick up, or eventually we'd answer and run outside and, Dad, phone call, Mm-hmm. But yeah, you save a lot of money doing things yourself. As an owner operator, did you come to Autumn with that truck, or is it part of the lease purchase program?
This one is part of the lease purchase program. I came with another truck that I owned, so I ran that one for the first year and a half, and then I purchased this one when that one started having some issues, and then I hung on to it, and I was gonna just fix that one a little bit more. And when I first came here, she was pretty beat up from the oil field, and I put a lot of time and money into it and brought her back to life, so she looked beautiful. And it was just having some mechanical issues that I figured I'm just going to upgrade, and then I'll fix that one up slowly and put a driver in it. But with the quality driver shortage as of right now, and when you're a small owner operator, you have to be really cautious of what you put in the truck so they don't tear that truck up. And the more I thought about it, I sold the truck 2 months ago.
Okay.
Oh, really?
So, yep.
Okay.
So
Is that pretty hard to let her go?
it was. I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that, and she did make me a lot of hay out in the oil field. So
What's your experience been? I know Jenna works with a lot of people looking to come to Autumn who maybe haven't been owner operators before, or don't have their own truck. And we have this lease purchase program, our ownership program that we have here, and we talk a lot about it. We think it's one of the best things out there. Can you talk a little bit about your experience going through that, maybe for a driver listening today who's thinking about coming to Autumn, but he's not sure about doing a lease purchase and how that all works? What was your experience with that?
Well, I don't know. I had a good experience, I guess, because I was already here, number one, and so everybody knew me. And I just walked in the door one day because I had to stop for something, and that Kenworth had just got here, and it was just backed into the. I said, "Hey, Josh, what's going on with that Kenworth out back?" And he goes, "Well, you want it?" I'm like, "Probably," And a month later, I was running her down the road, but it's an easy process. You use your head, don't get in over your head. I mean, everybody wants a big hood like that, or a big fancy truck, or whatnot. And I guess you do what you want, but if you're first stepping in to get your feet wet, you don't need the nicest thing on the road. It's a lot of work to maintain. money-wise, it's what you get is what you're going to pay.
Right.
Fuel mileage and stuff, I guess you got to weigh your odds. To me, I don't get as good a fuel mileage as these other more aerodynamic trucks and whatnot, but it's a write-off at the end of the year. I mean, one way or another, you're going to pay the truck payment or you're going to have to find a deduction. So fuel's a big deduction, and I spend a lot of money on fuel every year. But as far as the program goes, I've never had an issue with it. I mean, it's consistent. It doesn't change. It's a good deal. I mean, it's not where somebody's charging you this for the truck and then just blowing your mind with what all the added fees and whatnot on it. It's a lot better than what you're going to find most any other place.
Yeah, you're going to see balloon payments and lots of hidden fees. I get that question all the time. Like, is it really just what you're saying? And I'm like, yeah.
It's down to earth. This is it.
Yep.
Here's what you're paying for the truck. Here's your charges. This is it.
Yeah.
Here's your payment. And it's all printed out. I mean, you got your printout of every payment you're going to make on that truck right up to the last one that you pay out on your own. And you know what's going to come out of your check every week. So
when are you hoping to have that paid off?
I think I got 3 years left on this one. I paid quite a bit of money for this one. So
yeah, it's funny you're talking about having to make the decision that's best for you in your life and your circumstances, and not getting too far ahead of yourself. Because yeah, some of those trucks out there they're shiny and they're nice, but you can spend a lot and then you're eating up everything you make on your truck payment.
Yep.
I working with my son, my 16-year-old. He thinks he's going to be a pro bass fisherman, and so I need a bass boat. I need a $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 boat. And I said, well, you need a job first, and why don't let's find you a boat that fishes, that floats, that's got a motor that runs, right? But you don't need that pro boat right now. When you're older, when you got a steady income and you want to make that choice to pay for that boat, hey man, you make that choice. But be smart now. Get something that you can afford now that'll work. And it's the same thing with the trucks. We've seen guys who will come here. Usually they come here with their own truck, or they're buying a truck. They're making payments on their own on a truck that it's just too expensive. And then they eat up everything they make paying for it. Where you'd be a lot more successful as an owner-operator if you were in a truck. Yeah, maybe this first truck or this truck right now isn't your dream truck, but it works and it runs and it's reliable, and you can start to build up the money that you need so that down the road you can do like you did, Jason, and step into a truck that is a little bit more special to you, a little fancier, something that you really like.
That first step, you pay that truck off, you have a down payment on your next one.
Right.
So the faster you pay that off, you can move into what you want a little quicker. But if you go, the old saying, go house poor, the bank's going to lend you this for a home. Yeah. So you're going to spend every penny of it, not thinking that your paycheck's only going to go so far and there ain't going to be a whole lot left over once the mortgage is paid and insurance and whatnot.
Right.
Well, you can go truck poor just the same as a house.
Sure.
I paid more for this truck than I paid for my house.
Well, you probably sleep in it more.
We see that a lot, where it's like, yeah. I mean,
well, and then you're also doing something that not every guy does in terms of doing your own maintenance, staying on top of things, doing the repairs yourself, saving, like you said, a ton of money on shop fees.
I grease it in the truck stop parking lots halfway through oil changes. I'm under there in my coveralls greasing it. I mean,
and that goes a long way, not only on the longevity of your equipment, but on saving you that money so that you can put it towards paying the truck off faster or building up a little protection for yourself. And one of the things that I think a lot of drivers across the industry got in trouble with, the last 2 years were just really, really good years. Rates were really high and guys were making a lot of money. But instead of saving that money and being ready for trucking inevitably goes up and down.
Up and down.
Right?
It's a
You've
roller
been doing
coaster.
it 20 years. You've seen rates that are high. You've seen rates that are low, and it is that roller coaster effect. But too many guys, when things are good, take all that extra money and now I'm going to go buy myself a brand new pickup. I'm going to go buy a bass boat or a $10,000 snowmobile or something like that. And then when rates come back down, they're stuck.
They
now
feel
you're
it.
truck poor and you're toy poor.
Yep. And I know a lot of guys that have lost their toys over doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
They get in way over their head when everything's great, and then when everything bottoms out, you still have to make an income. So that truck has to be your priority while everything else kind of falls along the roadside.
Right.
Right now, I'm testing out a different computer in the truck at the same time. So I'm running 2 computers in the truck right now. And that actually has a load board on it. And every once in a while, I'll just look through it at the freight rates on dry van and reefer, because I pulled reefer for many years and dry van. I wouldn't even start my truck for some of them rates.
Wow.
I'm like, literally, I'd park it at home
Yeah.
because you can't even pay a fuel on what some of them loads are paying. I don't care where it's going. Unless you had to get home from that location and that other, that load would get you close to home, you just barely make the fuel to get there.
Sure.
You're not putting nothing in your pocket or the wear and tear on the truck. I mean, it's just, some of it's just garbage. I mean,
There's some really tough markets out there. And I know we have drivers from time to time will ask, well, what, are you checking any load boards? And it's like, yeah, man. And I don't even want to touch one of those loads to offer it to you because that stuff's so low.
Well, a couple of years ago, we were in a situation here where when Josh was still my dispatch, we had to find some extra loads to fill in because our dedicated was down for a little bit. And he pitched a couple of them at me that I literally said, no, I'm not going out of my way for that. I'll sit here the rest of the day. Let's see what's on the board in the morning, because it just wasn't worth it. I mean, to get further away, then you got to come back.
Sure.
So, I said, let's just skip that one and we'll go to some tomorrow, and usually something pulled out really decent. I mean, I ended up with a lot of decent loads doing that, and over the years too. I'll sit this one out today, I'm going to lose a day of the week, but if there's something good on the board in the morning, I'd rather take something good than something that ain't paying.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a great thing that we have going at Autumn is that we have a lot of really great relationships with our direct customers.
yes.
And so we've been able to manage some of these lows, but the fact that we do have good relationships that we've built over years, sometimes decades, with certain customers. So Autumn, even though the market's tighter and tougher, Autumn's reputation and our relationships carry us through that. And a big part of that is it speaks to what you guys do out there on the road. I mean, you said you've run a dedicated account. So you're the one that those customers see day in, day out, week in, week out, and how you're going in there, how you're doing the pickup, how you're doing the delivery, that you're on time, that your truck looks fantastic out there today. I had a customer just yesterday. I called to set up an appointment for one of my liquid guys. And he said, man, we love when Autumn guys come in here. Their trucks look good. The drivers are professional. They're always on time. And then he went on to bash another carrier, saying, these guys, they're never on time. They come in whenever they want. They get upset that we don't have a load ready for them, even though they came in without an appointment. And I said, well, hey, man, we love helping you guys out. Keep sending those loads to Autumn.
Right.
But just the reputation that you guys have. I mean, you look clean, you look professional today. Your truck looks great. That goes a long way with the customers.
Yeah, we have one customer in Chicago that I go to regularly, and I actually work alongside them in there when they're shorthanded.
Okay.
So, or when one of the people are gone, I will work right alongside them. I'll help them load other drivers to get myself in, and I run all their equipment in there and everything. So they call me their unofficial employee.
Sure.
And their manager there, she comes down all the time and she's like, Jason, you working again? yep. And she just laughs and turns around and goes back upstairs. But I mean, we have a good relationship because of the fact that I pitch in. I mean, when their augers outside are down and the trucks have to dump their loads in the doorway, well, then I can't back inside the building to get loaded. I'm over there with a shovel, pitching it into the skid steer bucket, helping them get everything cleaned up and sweeping it up. That way, everything moves a little more efficient for everybody. So it's about customer relations. It's about upholding your end, and it's about making your time. Mm-hmm. So whatever works in your favor. But I know Autumn has a super reputation everywhere where I deliver my loads that come out of here. He's got my paperwork filled out before I walk in. He sees my truck come around the corner, and he's already got my truck number, trailer number, everything all wrote down on the slip. I walk in, hand him my paperwork, and walk back out. I mean, that's nice. And in fact, the guy that's in charge now, who used to run the loader and unload us, his last name is Miles too. Oh, so weird. Every time I hand in a bill, I've always waited for billing to say, well, how come this says Miles is this guy's last name and your last name is Miles? Are you just writing a different first name, and they both start with J, So, and I'm like, nope, that's actually a Miles, but he's a California Miles and I'm a Wisconsin Miles.
Yeah. So. Big difference.
That's so cool to see. And on the wall in the office here, we have our 4 values stenciled onto the wall. And our values here are integrity, service, leadership, and family. And just that story that you shared about helping out that customer, you're showing them a ton of service beyond just the trucking service you're providing. You're really serving them in their time of need. Leadership, to be able to just jump in there and, hey, I'll help you guys out. I'll take the reins on this one. And then family, I think, kind of fits in there too. In a family, we're big here at the office. We're a family. Everybody pitches in. Our CEO takes out the garbage. She wipes down the counters in the kitchen. Our operations manager walks around and picks up recycling from all the people in dispatch. Anything I ever need, Jenna jumps right on board. Hey, how can I help? Everybody around here kind of has that family mentality. And to hear that you are out representing Autumn and representing all those values is a super cool thing. And it goes a long way when times are like they are, that Autumn maintains that first call when customers need something.
Yeah. And the family part of Autumn. I love the family part of Autumn. When, everybody preaches, oh, we're all about family, all these trucking companies, But when it comes down to it and you need to get home, they're all about their load. They're not about your family. They don't care because they're not making money if your truck is parked. Autumn's not that way. If you got something that you got to do, they say, let us know when you're going to be back. Or, call at the end of the week and just give us a heads up. Otherwise, you do what you need to do. I mean, that's one thing they stand behind that nobody I've ever worked for stood behind. So I love Autumn for that whole thing because you never know what's going to happen. Who's going to get sick? Who's going to be in the hospital?
Right.
And you can I've pulled the plug halfway through a load. Like I got past the house and had to turn around because of something going on. And it was okay. Do your thing. You just let us know. And it was never when are you going to be back? When are you going to be back? It was when I was ready to come back. They stood behind what they said. And that is one thing I love about Autumn. It's just fabulous.
Jenna, are we able to cut that out of the podcast here and then you can just share that on all your recruiting phone calls?
I mean, I was just going to say, that's what makes my job easy is being able to sell that as the truth about this place.
I'm pretty sure that's in my quote that I gave
I think it's in your quote. It's pretty similar to your quote. Yes. So,
who are your dispatchers, Jason?
Katie and Ronnie.
Okay, Ronnie's been here a few years now. Katie's pretty new.
Yeah, but Ronnie's only been with us full time pretty much since Mark stepped into. So what? Maybe a year now?
Probably, yeah.
Pretty close to a year.
Yep.
Yeah.
That Ronnie's been dispatched. It took me a while to break him in.
Yeah.
I run different than other people. I'm a half a day ahead of schedule at all times. I mean, that's nice. If I'm supposed to be there Tuesday morning, I'm there Monday afternoon. So it took a while. It took a while for Mark to get. I mean, a year to get Mark broken on that. You know, I got hollered at every week, and I'm like, hey, this is how I've run since I started. I'm always ahead of schedule. That way, if something goes wrong, I'm never behind it.
Right.
So I always stay ahead of schedule. I mean, I run my runs away. Our dedicated customer, they expect me to be there the day before I'm supposed to be there. So, and I am, and it works. And Ronnie and Katie, they had to get used to that because we had back and forth on that too. And it was like, hey, this is how I run. I can change it if you really need me to, but it's worked for this long. And a lot of times it helps because something will fall at the end of the week or somebody will have to go home for a family thing and a load will be needed to be covered. And guess what? Jason's a half a day ahead of schedule. So, hey, can you cover this? And I go take care of it. So it's worked out really good.
And you get a little extra cash then at the end of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Does Brian have a W9 too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there must be something about guys running beautiful Kenworth W9s that just
Had a schedule?
Yeah, motivates them. Because I got a guy in Liquid. He's a half day ahead of schedule all the time too. Same thing.
Is that the blue and white one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good point that you just made too. And just to wrap up, I don't have to have a long point here, but I get a lot of that frustration in the first almost startup period here with Autumn, where they're still figuring out their team and their relationship with dispatch. And it's something that you kind of have to see the big picture on, right? I mean, it's common to have that kind of that frustration, like I said, right in the beginning.
The butting heads.
Right. And you're just getting to, it's like a new relationship. You're still learning how that person talks and communicates and thinks and is going to react to everything you say, so it's just like a partnership here too.
From a dispatch perspective, you're working with, maybe you have 10 drivers on your board, or you have in liquid tanks, we're at about 40, and pneumatics, I think, are they at 70 now, Jenna?
Yeah, I think so.
And so that's a lot of personalities to get used to. And in a family, you treat everyone uniquely. You don't expect every driver to be exactly the same, but it does take a little while to learn who the guys are, how they run, the guys and gals, who they are, how they run, what works best for their schedule, and how to adapt that with what your customers need and things like that. So you would say that after that little trial period now, you and Ronnie and Katie, you guys all are pretty gelling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're right on. I mean, like I told them, you keep my loads coming every day, and you won't have to worry about me. I'm still old school where we used to have a booth in a truck stop booth. You sat in the booth, you ordered your breakfast, and you called dispatch off the phone that was hooked to the wall.
Yeah.
And that's how you called dispatch, because that was the only way to call dispatch. You called on an 800 number. And then at the end of the day, when you had dinner, you called dispatch again. And your days got lined up just like that. Well, I still like that, except for I missed that call because I'm already dispatched and they see where I am on the computer, so we're all good. They know that I've already delivered. They know I'm en route to my pickup. They know when I've picked that up and en route to deliver that one. So I check in at the beginning and end of the week, and Ronnie checks in the middle. So, it's just, we have a system and it works.
Yeah.
And it's a good deal.
So you got a load to get to today, I'm guessing.
Yep, I got to go load, and then I'm going home.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank you for a couple things. Thanks for coming in. This is your first podcast?
It is. I didn't even know what one
Jason,
was.
yeah, he actually asked me, what is a podcast?
Oh, no.
I did.
So we'll get you set up so that in the future you can listen to your interview here and you can listen to some in the past. But thanks for taking this time to talk, and thanks for coming in this morning and keeping such a beautiful truck and trailer out there, giving Autumn a great name. It's, I'm in liquid, so I don't know what every other division is doing all the time. It's great to hear that guys in other divisions are doing the same thing as my guys are, just loving their job, taking care of their family, and representing Autumn well. Thank you for your time, Jason.
No problem. It was great being here.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody for taking some time to listen to our conversation with Jason today. Please go ahead and share this episode and past episodes with your friends and family and anyone else that you think would benefit from listening. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Autumn Transport. Everybody, have a great day. Drive safe. Take care.